Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-hosts, Vern Glenn and FP Santangelo Jr. Not sure where Russell is. Maybe he'll join us. Maybe he won't. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. And of course, Russell's not here when I wanted to talk about basketball, but I've got here films with basketball in them. So
okay,
films with basketball in it. Okay,
yeah, exactly, and not just in the background watching some guys play. Okay, let's see here. No guests today, but a lot of good stuff to cover. The World Cup still going on with this FTX. That's going to be on. That lawsuit's been going to go on for quite a while. I mean, you're talking billions, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be gnarly.
And in the NFL, you've got this is like November seeping into December now. This is like week 13, and so you're going to start seeing some separation between the contenders and the pretenders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some pretty close races. Yeah, like you said, it'll be interesting to see how it kind of.
How about one entire division under 500?
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
You and here's the rule: you got to pick your Super Bowl winner from one of those teams. That's going to be challenging.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Also, so FP right now is in Brasilia, right? And yeah, and so we're going to get his take on exactly what happens when the World Cup is going on, even though it's not happening in Brazil. But when Brazil takes the field, we're going to hear from him on that. Okay.
Crazy.
All right. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments currently yielding anywhere from 7 to 9%. Doesn't get any more conservative than they are. Check them out, pacificprivatemoney.com. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, Vern Glenn, and FP Santangelo Jr. here. Let's start off with the World Cup. So, FP, give us some numbers.
All right, guys. So this World Cup, obviously pretty controversial being in Qatar, but let's look at the numbers right now, okay? I bet you guys didn't know that the person or the team that wins, the nation that wins the World Cup, receives $72 million. So that team gets to split up $72 million. Second place gets $50 million, and then third place gets $27 million. So these guys are actually playing for a lot of money. I don't think you have that in the World Baseball Classic, for example, or even in the Olympics. So there's a lot of money involved here. I'm currently in Brasilia, Brazil, which is the capital of Brazil. And guys, the way that they do the World Cup here is incredible. They close down school every single time the team takes the field. They close down businesses. The only things open are bars and restaurants whenever Brazil plays a match. So for Thanksgiving on Thursday, I was in a bar the entire day, enjoying myself with my fiance here in Brazil, all dressed to the nine. I had face paint, going crazy, and the traffic was crazy. Just to get to somewhere was really hard because nobody went to work. It's incredible. Everything was closed. They're just watching the game for the 2 hours that it's on. And then yesterday, which was Monday, right? We record on Tuesday, same exact thing, right? And they won against Switzerland. They're already into the next group, even though they'll play Cameroon on Friday. That game doesn't matter for Brazil. But guys, it's absolutely crazy here. And if you don't know, Brazil is the betting favorite to win this World Cup. Then it goes Belgium. Then it goes Argentina. Then it goes France. So this is their team this year. They're supposed to win this thing. And if they don't, this country will be in ruins, and I'll be here. So pray for me.
Well, Brazil always seems to have, a top-notch team. The thing that's really cool about that is this awesome nationalism, national pride. I just love that. I mean, hopefully, obviously, hospitals will be open in case some emergency happens. But
I'm curious as to what it means to the economy of where you are. I mean, if you have bars and restaurants just packed to the gills with like the entire town. I mean, if you're the owner of any of these establishments, I'm just thinking, wow, ka-ching, ka-ching on the cash register.
Oh yeah, every 4 years here, it's just you're getting your biggest payday. And guys, I had to go to like 3 separate bars to even get into a bar here because they're already packed. And I went 2 hours before the game started. So that's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
This is like bigger than the Super Bowl. I know that's hard for Americans to fathom, but it is 10 times bigger than the Super Bowl. It's fanatical. It's crazy.
I got a funny story. An old friend of mine, unfortunately passed on a couple of years ago, was a world-renowned motivational speaker. So I mean, he literally went around the world, and he'd get audiences of anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 people if the room could hold that much. He was really, really good author, et cetera, et cetera. Really nice guy. And he was telling me the story that one time he went to I think it was India, to give a speech, and it was supposed to be maybe 3,000 or 4,000 people to listen to him, right? And he shows up, and there's only one person in the audience. Out of 3,000 people, they're supposed to be there. One person is there, right? And he's going,
wow.
Well, you know what? Hey, I got paid, $10,000 or whatever to do the speech, so I'm going to do the speech, right? So he goes ahead and does the speech. He's not really understanding what's going on, and he then afterward he finishes his speech, and the one guy claps, right? And he goes up to the guy and he goes, where is everybody? He goes, well, they unfortunately you got booked during the cricket matches.
Wow.
Everybody's out, watching the cricket match. And he goes, well, who are you? He goes, I'm the next guest.
Funny. Wow. That is so funny.
So it kind of reminds me of the Brazil, where it's like everything just shuts down and you just watch the game.
Wow.
It's incredible, guys. And I want to remind everybody on here that the World Cup in 4 years is coming to the United States. It's going to be in New York. It's going to be in Miami, Houston, LA, and the Bay Area. It's going to be at Levi Stadium. So we're going to have the same thing in the US. We got to show up. We got to really show our American pride there. And guess what, guys? The US team, pretty good. They tied England this past weekend.
Yeah.
And England, their team's being paid 5 times more than the United States team. So they have some big rollers on that team, and we still tied them. Now, today, as we're recording this, we won't know if they're going to beat Iran or not. But if the U.S. beats Iran, they'll go to the next round, and this will be huge for soccer in the United States. Huge implications.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, because I think the theory was that the U.S. okay, great. After 8 years, they're finally participating. Okay, here's some orange peels and apple slices and your little juice cup, and thanks for playing. But boy, nobody I think expected them to get out of the opening round and to get into the knockout round. So I know we're recording this before the game, but wow, just the
how good is Iran
if it happens?
Oh yeah, it's huge,
crazy,
huge.
How good is Iran's team?
They're pretty good. I think they're one of the best teams in Asia. So that they're pretty good, and they have a lot of national pride right now because of what's going on with the protests there. All the atrocities that are happening to women in Iran. So, and they're supporting their women. Their team actually didn't sing the national anthem, which is a jailable offense. So there's some guys that on that team that are playing right now that might go home and end up in jail. So they're playing for a lot more than the United States right now. So it's going to be a very interesting match. Very interesting.
Families of players are being threatened if that team does not sing the national anthem. And getting back to the World Cup coming to the United States, FP, you weren't around, but Ed, you certainly were back in 1994 when the Cup was here in the Bay Area. Wow, with and you talk about Brazil. Everywhere Brazil went, I mean, they were like rock stars, and Pele accompanied the team. So I mean,
I had chills about that, man. He was
I mean, everywhere Pele went in the Bay Area, it was like Jesus was here.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, can you imagine what it's going to be like when they soccer has become even that much more popular than it was before. So it's going to
be crazy. It's funny that you bring that up, Vern, because everybody says, "Oh, you're from the Bay Area. That's where the World Cup was in 1994." That's all they say. It's not like, "Oh, San Francisco, yeah, that's beautiful." It's like, "Oh yeah, that's where Brazil played in the World Cup." I think they won too.
And to kind of balance things on the television side, whenever I do World Cup highlights or I address World Cup, as a sport, I always make it a point that usually when we're talking about the World Cup, we're talking about the women, because the U.S. women are so dominant. I mean, it's just funny. It's just funny about the viewers that we have. I mean, they see and sometimes hear what they want to hear, and so if you don't, if you make a big deal about the men's team, then the fans of the women's team are going to get upset. Unless
and rightly so.
I totally get it. I totally get it. But I mean, people are losing their minds over the U.S. men and playing in this. But our base audience are women, and so you go and ignore the fact that hey, women are factoring this when you're going to get calls, you're going to get emails, you're going to hear about it.
Yeah. Well, maybe the thing is the women's team has kind of been good for a really long time, haven't they? And so maybe now, because like the men are kind of, hey, now we're kind of really starting to show our colors here, that I could kind of see maybe giving them a little bit back. It's sort of like an underdog type of thing. But I agree though. I mean, you got to give the women, if they're doing that well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where the U.S. men's soccer though is in 4 years. It's going to be pretty incredible because we actually have men now going to play in the best leagues in Europe, in America for the first time. I'm really excited about it. So
aren't they?
I'm on Team USC day there.
Aren't they the youngest team, or maybe one of the youngest teams in the entire field? My gosh, I was making a point to Edward before we hit the air. The team captain is 23 years old.
Yeah,
I have a 23-year-old in the house, so to see him being the leader of these men as a kid. And then you talk about whole political standpoint, him sitting at press conference, questions about what's going on.
Yeah, let's get into that.
It's really something.
Let's cut to our break, ask our trivia question. We come back. Let's get into that. It's very interesting. All right, we're talking about films that have basketball in them. 2018 comedy movie about an aging player's dream to win the Rucker Classic Street Ball Tournament.
Okay.
What was the name of that movie? You remember it?
Yes.
Okay. You do have it. Okay. I thought I might have to give you a hint, but that's okay.
In fact, the star of that movie is very controversial.
Yes, exactly. All right. Stay with the Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, Vern Glenn, and FP Santangelo Jr. here. First commercial trivia question about basketball in films. 2018 comedy movie about an aging player's dream to win the Rucker Classic Street Ball Tournament. Now I'll give you the hints anyway, but it sounds like you guys already know it.
We all know. Yeah, we all know. We're going to let FP answer the question.
Okay, go ahead, FP.
It's Uncle Drew.
Uncle Drew, that is correct. With
Uncle
Kyrie
Drew,
Irving, Jack, and Chris Webber making their appearances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty funny movie. Okay, so getting back to the World Cup. A lot of political stuff going on. I mean, you got, like you said, the Iranian men are supporting the women, which is really cool. Iran flag, they were missing that Islamic emblem. They They
took it out, but they put it back. They put it back.
Okay. And then China, in China, I don't know if you know this, they were showing the fans, everything is blurred out. And the reason was because people are just not wearing masks anymore. And China didn't want to show there's a part of the world here where people are not wearing masks, so all this control stuff. Yeah. And then now the reporters asking political questions. Vern, you were about to say before we cut the break.
Well, I mean, we've seen this movie before, and it just, I get it. I mean, this is a news story. Okay. But you've got a bunch of kids, soccer players, having to field questions about, just the political ramifications, the unrest, the conflict. But these kids, all they're thinking about is, shielding, soccer exercises, bicycle kicks, how I'm going to kick it, how I'm going to place it. I mean, how are we going to attack this team? It's all about soccer. They're not there to really answer these questions. So I just wish there was some sort of a PIO, someone like a rep from the U.S. team to answer those questions instead of a soccer ball coach and a 23-year-old kid. It's wrong to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
I agree.
Hey, I'm just kind of curious. Do you think they probably watch film, like in NFL, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, it's really interesting. If you think about it from a sports econ 101 standpoint, there you go. There's the shout out there. This is like one of the most interesting things for brands to tiptoe around right now because you have the two giants there. You have Nike and Adidas, right? And they're trying to play sides with every single country a certain way, so that way their brand is being shown on the jerseys and they're not pulling stuff because of any political incorrectness, but they want to be progressive, but they don't want to be for certain countries, but they want to do for others. And then out of nowhere, you have Budweiser, which was the biggest beer sponsor for FIFA World Cup, getting pulled itself, losing millions of dollars because now they can't sell beer at the venue because of Qatar's very strict and reserved laws. It's like a branded nightmare to be part of this FIFA World Cup right now.
Yeah, for the folks that don't know, Budweiser was all ready to kind of, like any other regular game.
Your volume's a little low.
My audio's low?
Yeah. I don't know why. But
all of a sudden?
All of a sudden.
Yeah.
How about now?
No, it's still low. It's really kind of weird. Not sure why.
I didn't even touch anything.
You gotta love Sports Econ 101.
Yeah. So
gotta love it.
No, for some reason
it's very faint.
Hear you. Yeah.
I don't think the listeners will be able to hear you, Vern.
So let me. Yeah, they won't be able to hear you. But so I was just kind of wondering, like, how do they decide which country gets to host? You know, I mean, it's probably like the Olympics, right? You know,
So there's a great documentary I urge everybody to watch on Netflix right now that explains the corruption in FIFA and how basically these big heads of, the presidents of FIFA in the past would get paid under the table by these broadcast companies or by politicians to host the World Cup there, right? Sure. So now they're trying to gut it out, quote unquote, right? A lot of people have been indicted. A lot of people have been sent to jail within FIFA, but still, this was kind of the last hurrah for the corruption in FIFA. Qatar has never been to a World Cup before. And guess what? If you're the host company, you automatically get in the World Cup. So Qatar got immediately destroyed. They lost their 2 games. They're horribly embarrassed, right? But Qatar's a very rich country. They have lots of oil money, lots of oil money, and they slipped a lot of money to the pockets of these presidents of FIFA. Yeah. And it made no sense at the time because in the summer, which the World Cup is traditionally held, it's like 130 degrees in Qatar. Yeah. So that's why it's actually being played in the winter time right now there, just because, so that way players don't die on the field. Yeah. It's crazy to me. This whole thing is crazy.
I mean, it's kind of sweet, just forget the political, and all this stuff with Islam and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of sweet to be able to say, hey, listen, we never get into this World Cup because we're not good enough. Can we at least host it? And then we at least kind of get out of jail free card, so to speak.
Not host it, buy it, Edward. They're buying it.
Okay, yeah, you're right. But still having it, like, hey, listen, you're 100% right on that. But from the standpoint of, it's like, letting the little kid play on the basketball team who's not very good,
Yeah.
Come on, let's be inclusive and let them come in.
Yeah, and their team got killed. Trust me. Everybody's making jokes like they were a junior college soccer team out there trying to play. So,
sad, I mean, I'm sure.
I wonder how many. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good now, bro.
I wonder how many millions are spent just in the bidding process to get that cup.
Oh,
yeah,
it's billions. It's with the B. It's billions.
Sure. It's interesting. I finally watched the documentary on Tim Donaghy.
The referee. Yeah,
the referee. Very interesting. Did you guys finally see that? It was very interesting because he kind of put a little bit of pressure on Stern. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because you're talking about the corruption in FIFA and thinking about potential corruption, in basketball, not just with him, but how he was talking about, hey, listen. You know what? The way it works is, you don't call fouls on the big boys because of the ratings, and everybody wants to, you can't let these guys foul out.
Well, people are tuning in to see them play.
Yeah.
It was funny. Even if you watch the Qatar game, the first one, it was the opening game, right? The host country always hosts the first game.
Yeah.
There were some calls that Qatar should not have gotten that were like, what's going on here? This is very interesting. So, and then you talk to any Brazilian here, they're like, oh yeah, the games are fixed sometimes. It's so funny. They're just like so blatant. Like we've had so much corruption here with our sports here in Brazil. We just think that everything's corrupt. And then it's funny because you think about the United States and you can't even talk about that. It's so taboo. Right. But everybody openly talks about like, oh, there's a close goal in the Sweden game yesterday that got called off sides, and it was very interesting. And the under hit because of it. Right. And I'm thinking
I would imagine where you are, FP, that the soccer IQ, the basic soccer IQ of
It's
the
in the
fan
roof.
is way up there.
Even
I
the
mean, they
little kids,
know
they
the
know.
game.
Yeah, they got
Yeah,
it.
that's funny that you say that, Vern. I played soccer with some high school Brazilians today. I felt like a fish in space.
Yeah.
I got absolutely boat raced by these kids.
Right.
They're putting it through my legs, and I thought it was, I'm a pretty decent athlete, I like to think.
Yeah.
And these kids just absolutely schooled me. So I can only imagine, the people that play on the streets all day or somebody actually my age or a professional player. It's incredible here. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny you were mentioning about the corruption, and I may have mentioned this before because you've been in Brazil for a while. So in 1988, when I went to Rio de Janeiro, there was so much corruption that they had the military on all kinds of buildings. I mean, it was
Yeah.
that dangerous. And they said that, as soon as you get in your car, slam the lock and quickly roll up the window in the nicest hotel in the area, right? But when we were on the bus going to the hotel, the tour guide, so to speak, said, "Okay, so here's the deal. We're changing from the Cruzeiro to the Cruzado, and you guys don't know anything about this, but it's basically it's like 500 to 1 or 100 to 1 exchange, right?" Says, what you could do is you could go to a bank and do it legitimately, or in our hotel, which is a 5-star hotel, we're setting up the black market, which will be a little cheaper for you to exchange. And we're all kind of looking, we're all, black market, isn't that illegal? Oh yeah, of course it's illegal, but there's corruption everywhere,
It's actually really amazing how Brazil's persevered, because the Brazilian reais, the real, was 1-to-1 with the American dollar in 2007. So their economy here is like legit. I'm saying, like, their malls are nicer than our malls. Their roadways are nicer than our roadways. There's things that I come here and I go, why isn't this in the U.S.? So this isn't I don't mean to speak poorly about Mexico, but this is not Mexico where they have a lot of infrastructure issues. This is a beautiful country now, and they have grown so much from that time in 1988. Their economy growth has been incredible. So while I'm sitting here in Brazil now, it's awesome. It's beautiful. The food's great. Everything.
What do you think happened? What made the change? Did somebody?
Well, they're one of the #1 coffee producers in the world. So there was a huge coffee boom in the 90s where it really took over business. It was like coffee everywhere. So,
Starbucks.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, that's the #1 export is coffee. So they really, really went hard with that, and they produce a lot of other things too. But yeah, it's a great economy here.
All right, we're going to cut to our next commercial break here, talking about films with basketball in it. 2005 film based on a true story of Richmond High School, where players were suspended due to poor academics. I knew Vern would know this one. I really enjoyed this movie, by the way. All right, call.
I interviewed the lead actor for that.
Yeah, you know what? Your volume cut back down again. If you can believe that.
It's got to be the laptop or something that you're using.
Yeah. For some reason, it just suddenly shoot. I can hear you, but barely. Really, yeah. Anyway, that's our trivia question. 2005 film based on a true story of Richmond High School here in California, not far from where Vern and I live, where players were suspended due to poor academics. All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, Vern Glenn, and FP Santangelo Jr. here. Second trivia question. 2005 film based on a true story of Richmond High School, where players were suspended due to poor academics playing basketball. What was the name of the movie, FP? You know?
Coach Carter.
Coach Carter.
Coach Carter.
That's right.
I knew it.
Daniel Jackson. Yeah, I love that movie.
That was, and there was a press junket for that one. It was the first time I'd ever met Samuel L. Jackson, and he is the king of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He is so awesome. Did you know not only does he know his lines, he knows everybody else's lines too.
Wow.
He's really, really smart.
You know, it's interesting.
Master of his craft.
I did I used to do a lot of acting stuff, and so there was remember the Ross Valley Players?
Sure.
Yeah. So
They're still around.
Yeah, they're still around. Yeah. So this was back actually in 2000. Interesting. 2005 is when we did this play, and the lead male character, he was having a little bit of challenge remembering his lines, and we were literally like 1 week away from opening. and people were getting a little nervous. And he just kind of looked at everybody. He goes, not only will I be ready when this, I mean, he's kind of cocky. He says, not only will I be ready, he says, I'm going to know everybody else's lines too. And sure enough, he did.
Yeah, good for him.
He was good.
Good for him.
Hey, he was really good.
Hey, man. Hey, he backed it up.
He backed it up.
He did.
Yes, he did. So, FP, what's going on with FTX?
No.
So there's now a huge lawsuit, and the defendants were named, and those defendants are Tom Brady, Steph Curry, Shaq, Naomi Osaka, Shohei Ohtani, David Ortiz, Shaq. I mean, you even have Larry David in here. It's a huge mess.
Hold on, though. Larry David said, "Don't do this." Remember?
I know, in the commercial. He did in the Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah,
so
I don't think so.
I think this is more of like a flashy news story than anything. I don't know if these people are going to be held liable, because I don't think that's how it works. It's going to be, they're hired actors, right? So I think it's still going to go on to the founder of this whole entire crypto mess. Right? And we explained it in great detail last show. So if you haven't got involved with that, please look it up. I urge you to. It's one of the biggest financial scandals probably in the last, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years.
The interesting thing is the interesting thing is it's a marketplace. FTX is a marketplace. He just happened to use crypto as the product, so to speak. So the only issue I understand is that, people take real money, they buy crypto, and then they try to do the trading of it, et cetera, whatever. And it's a holding place. Well, basically he stole it.
Well, let's just put it this way.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's put it this way, though. If Tom Brady is held liable and all these other stars, right? It opens up a Pandora's box of, hey, Tom Brady's wearing Nikes, and now my Nike shoe broke and I rolled my ankle because of it. I'm going to sue Tom Brady because he told me to wear those.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And going forward into the future, if I'm some kind of a star, I'm not going to be.
I'm not signing any deals
for anybody.
Yeah, so this is absolutely not going to hold up in court. I think the other people are going to be held liable, but I think this is just a way to add some more pop. Like, oh, Tom Brady is a defendant in a huge lawsuit, and Steph Curry and all these names. I think that's all it is.
Now the only way that I could say, again, we don't have Russell, the attorney, here today, but I would think that the only way that they could really be held liable is if they knew that it was that it was going on, in which I don't think that they did.
No, a lot of them had money invested.
But aren't there advisors? How's my audio? Is it still up there?
Oh, it's
yes. Okay. These guys, I mean, they have so many. They have so much money to invest. I mean, they're financial people. I mean, there's probably a whole division handling these people. Going, okay, this is where we're going to put your money. Crypto, it's a hot thing right now. We're going to move this money over here. And these guys, Brady, Curry, they don't even. They don't even worry about it.
It's not just them. I mean, you had some huge hedge funds that trusted and invested with these guys, but apparently there's no oversight. And so the interesting part is this guy Sam Bankman-Fried, I think his name is. He invested, or he donated millions and millions and millions of dollars, primarily to Democratic people, and a lot of it had to do with the regulations, where he didn't want to be under the SEC, he wanted to be under the commodities, because it's that division of the securities laws, or non-security in this case, is a lot easier. So it's like, yes, we want regulation, but we want regulation from this little thing here that really kind of doesn't do much oversight, Yeah,
it's decentralized. That's the whole point. It's decentralized money. So
we did a story back here in the Bay Area on the football field at Memorial Stadium at Cal, and just the shots of them erasing the FTX off the logo, like off the field. I mean, because it was just so toxic, so to speak. That they had to get rid of it.
All right, hey guys. Okay, so I got something just sort of fun here. Totally off the subject, changing for a minute.
Okay.
I want you guys are baseball fans. Give me 9 ways a batter can get to first base.
Oh, geez, that again?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I did this 30 years ago. Okay, wait. Start off.
Vern, while you're thinking about it, How about this, Vern? While you're thinking about it, I'm going to give you the NFL ratings real quick for Thanksgiving because it's going to blow your mind.
Please.
Okay. So this past Thursday on Thanksgiving, 138 million Americans watched at least 1 minute of football on Thursday, and 42 million viewers checked into at least one entire game. That's crazy. That's almost half the population of the United States.
Yeah.
So the NFL is still king in the U.S., guys. I don't know about you, but that's an incredible number. 138 million Americans.
How many people
Crazy.
watch basketball? They have the statistic on that?
There's basketball on that day? I had no idea.
But no baseball.
No baseball, not on Thanksgiving, no. And then, again, here's another thing, too. Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Michigan just swept the floor with Ohio State, but it was the biggest viewership they've ever had. 17 million people tuned into that game. So college football is still showing up. That's pretty good. 17 million people tuning into anything.
Okay, so you're talking, generally speaking, you're talking about Thanksgiving. Most people are off work, and most people are gathered around, family, and they'll have the TV going, et cetera. So, unless they're going to watch some Hallmark Hall of Fame type of, romantic comedy, they'll be tuning into football, right?
You know what? I'm kind of interested now. I think I'm going to get you guys the World Cup numbers when Brazil plays. I think you guys are going to be really shocked.
I'd love to.
I'm sure it'll be staggering.
Yeah.
I've seen some numbers in the past, and I thought I saw 550 million people tuning into one game. So no pressure if you mess up or anything. That's compared to like 150 million in a Super Bowl.
While you've been throwing out those numbers, okay, I've got walk, balk,
Wait,
drop, strike,
hold
three.
on. A balk doesn't get you to first base.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Strike that.
Okay.
Walk,
Walk.
drop, strike, three, hit by pitch, hit, fielder's choice, and pinch runner. I'm missing it.
No,
right?
but it's a batter though. Pinch runner doesn't count because that's not a batter.
Oh, well, then I'm out.
Okay,
Give me
I don't
the
know.
other ones then.
Okay, so the other
Yeah, I
one,
know.
an error.
Error, okay,
Error.
okay.
I think you said fielder's choice.
Yep.
You said drop, third strike, catcher's interference.
Catcher's interference, okay.
And then now you've got obstruction, both offense and then obstruction. I don't know if they call it obstruction, defense. So offense, a ball hits a runner. Let's say he was running from first to second.
Yeah.
Batter gets the first. And the other one is a defensive. Let's say a second baseman runs into the runner who's going from first to second. So nine different ways.
A couple of those I never would have gotten. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of tough. I just thought I'd sort of thrown that out. So you said roughly 550 million people for when Brazil get. You know what? That's almost as large as Sports Econ 101 audience. Almost
Close.
A couple million away.
I feel threatened.
Let's see what else we got here. Hey, is Aaron Judge? Is he going to go to the Giants?
I don't think so.
We'll see.
Oh,
I don't
We'll
think
see.
so. I mean, I know it was a good pitch. I know they romanced him. I know they came away feeling like, well, we did all we could. But I just think in the game of the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
No.
I think he remains in pinstripes.
so let me ask you from a standpoint of how often does, let's say, a player, when he's thinking about where to go, if he has that opportunity, does he think, you know what, I really like this city versus like I'm going to be playing this?
It's huge. It's everything. But number one is taxes. Okay.
Yeah.
In New York, you'd actually have to pay more taxes than in California. Believe it or not.
I did not know that.
Well, yeah, especially in New York
not.
City. They have an extra tax in New York City.
Yep. So if he wants to live in New York City, right, he's going to have enough money. He doesn't really have to worry about that. But I mean, if you want generational wealth, and that's a thing for you, you really want to go play in Texas or you want to go play in Florida first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then maybe those other countries or states like Arizona. But California, lesser tax. So he could come here, he could come home. His family lives in California, right? He grew up a huge Giants fan.
Yep.
We all know this.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense to me, but I think it's really kind of funny and endearing how this is like a cat and mouse game, guys. It's like when you're first talking to a girl for the first time. It's like, hey, I like you. Hey, I like you too. Let's meet up. And then you're not talking now because the first day went well, and now you got to wait a couple weeks. Like when is when does it become one of these things where, I don't know, it's like, oh, we haven't talked in a while. This is getting awkward. Or like, do I have to make a decision now? Do we have to be girlfriend and boyfriend?
Right.
Do I have to commit to this thing? So I've always thought of like free agency kind of like that. And it makes me giggle when I think like that.
But it's funny though. Vern and I have been married so long that I don't know if we remember those days.
Yeah.
I've been married so long. I don't know if I was born first or married first, but go ahead.
I'm engaged right now.
From work.
Yeah.
The door's unlocked. I can come in now. Okay, I'm good then. Right, yeah.
I didn't do anything bad. I didn't know I did.
Exactly.
But
young squire, you have a lot to learn.
oh, I can't wait. But yeah, I'm engaged. I kind of just got out of the dating game, I guess, like 3 years ago. And it always makes me laugh, like the games that you would play with somebody trying to just get to know them. So I feel like this is what teams are doing with Aaron Judge right now. We'll see what happens.
Very interesting. Okay, we got one more minute before we have to go to our break.
Okay, let me just jump in. We can get to it more if you want, but the NFL, there's 16 teams in the AFC, 16 in the NFC. You know how many winning teams there are in the NFC? 7.
Wow.
Whoa.
How many teams with a winning record in the AFC? 8.
It's all nice and tight, baby.
It is, yeah.
Almost like from day one, they're all tied, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
So these next few weeks are gonna. I mean, they're gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
Yes, they will.
And in the NFC South, nobody has a winning record.
Well, hopefully everyone stays healthy,
South.
because that's always a major thing is the injuries. Okay,
Yep.
third trivia question about basketball. This is a 2002 film. I actually like this movie too. It's really cute. 2002 film about a 13-year-old orphan becoming an NBA superstar after trying on a pair of sneakers.
Oh, I know this one.
All right. All right, that's our trivia question. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back with some closing comments. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with FP Santangelo Jr. and Vern Glenn. Third trivia question about basketball. 2002 film about a 13-year-old orphan becoming an NBA superstar after trying on a pair of sneakers. What was the name of the movie?
Like Mike.
Like Mike, starring Little Bow Wow. Yeah.
Little Bow Wow.
Little Bow Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, now he's just Bow Wow, right? Or
Yeah.
Is he
He's
just
not so little anymore.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Let's see. That was 20 years ago, and he probably was pretty close to 13 when he did the movie. I don't know if he really was 13, but he's probably very, very, very cute movie actually.
Yeah, I liked it.
Good. Well, we'll have to just tell Russell he missed a good day today. This was kind of fun.
He did.
I don't usually talk about soccer, but definitely it was really interesting about all this world.
It is
going on.
Oh yeah.
What do you got there? You got a baseball?
Yeah, just
Practicing your curveball?
just gripping. Yeah.
Okay, you guys ready for our thoughts for the day?
Go
All
for
right,
it.
here we go. Since we just finished Thanksgiving, of course, we have to have just a little bit of turkey stuff. What happened when the turkey got into a fight? He got the stuffing knocked out of him.
That's a classic dad joke right there.
Okay. Now this one isn't a funny quip, but I thought it was kind of interesting. So Bill Gates said, "I choose a lazy person to do a hard job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it." So what is
That's
it?
true.
Necessity is the mother of invention, right? It's like my brother's kind of like that. He's sort of lazy in some ways, but boy, he can be really creative and figure out a way to do things easy on that. All right, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
Brazil.